in NASCAR. The roller coaster rides on.
Yeah, I'm fine. Just really scared the heck out of me.
No wonder it's called the Monster Mile. Dover down some drivers, but the cream always rises to the top.
Jimmie Johnson, looking like a three-time champion, should. Commanding the race here today at Dover International Speedway. He will win.
Heated discussion and hot laps are on the way. Plus, Radioactive satisfies your skinner needs. Next up in the chase, Kansas. Could this year's race be any better than last year's?
Here's Edwards. Bonsai move to the bottom of the racetrack. He's in the wall. Edwards slams the wall, and Johnson comes back to the bottom.
Stick around. This Week in NASCAR starts now. This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Geico. And good Monday evening, everybody. I'm Steve Burns. Glad you're with us here in the Charlotte, North Carolina studios of Speed and This Week in NASCAR, joined this evening by Mr. Excitement Jimmy Spencer, Chad Canals, and Michael Waltrip. And Michael and I were just saying we had our picture taken with Miles the Monster, the one that's outside the track. Chad had his picture taken with Miles the Monster in Victory Lane. Congratulations.
I'm glad we all got the memo on the shirt. We got nice blue shirts going on right here.
We do.
We need to maybe mix that up a little bit next time. I mean, that's a lot of blue. But
hey, I got to ask you a quick question. Do you realize that that is the 6th year that Jimmy and you have won 4 races together? That's a pretty impressive streak.
You know, we're just, man, we're so fortunate. We really are. And we did a lot of interviews yesterday, obviously post-race. And when you get in there and you really look at it and you hear all the comments of what the people are asking you and the reporters, it's a phenomenal ride that we've been on. And we've got such a fantastic team. We've got such a great group of guys that support us at Hendrick Motorsports. And, you know, it's awesome, man. It really is. It's overwhelming to sit back and really think about what we've been able to accomplish. And I'm just grateful to be paired up with Jimmy and the team that we've got.
Well, the thing that's cool is we raced an old car there, and you won in it. You raced a new car there, you're winning in it.
Yeah.
So it's a team effort, truly. And Hendrick Motorsports are definitely the pinnacle right now. They're the team you have to beat. And 3 of those 4 cars are up front every week, and sometimes and Loudon, all 4 of them were up there. So you know, it's nice to see an organization with their stuff together, especially as a guy, as a team owner. You know, I strive to make my cars look like Mr. Hendrick's cars look, and certainly the way yours looked yesterday. It was a fun show to watch.
Chad, if I've learned one thing in 25 years of being around the sport, it's that you guys who are racers, you never look back. You're always looking ahead. But I'm like Jimmy. You look at some of the numbers, 44th win for you and Jimmie Johnson together. Jimmy said 6th consecutive season of at least 4 wins, 15th chase win. There's some pretty amazing superlatives.
That's, like I said, I mean, I don't even know what to say about it. We're really fortunate. We've got a great group of guys. Jimmy's obviously, he's more focused now than I have ever seen him in his career. And, you know, we've been together a long time. We've been through a lot of ups and downs, and he's more physically fit. He works out. He trains. He's doing everything that he can to be the best race car driver that he can possibly be at this point in time in his career. And everybody across the board is doing that on our team. And I think it's showing, and we're fortunate.
And I think over the years that we've seen, Steve, is you always see a guy who seems to get the job done. You know, you look back to Darrell Waltrip, you look back to David Pearson, Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, and right now it seems Jimmy gets the job done. And what I mean, fans, is that he can get it done when it counts.
Clutch race car driver. The other headline footage I'm sure all of you have seen is the horrific looking wreck that Joey Logano went through. Right there is 20 car and rolled over 7 times. And I guess, guys, ultimately the great news is how safe those race cars are, because he's all right. Shaken up, but okay.
Yeah, I went and looked at that car yesterday after the wreck. And NASCAR, you've done absolutely, I'd still be racing if you'd done this about 10 years ago.
Well, look, I blew a right front tire when I drove off into turn 1 at Dover. If I had done that 15 years ago, it's career ending. Larry Pollard crashed at Dover. It ended his career. Brett Bodine run into the wall, broke his arm. driver after driver have hit that concrete wall. I remember Joe Nemechek.
Broke his shoulder.
Crashed, broke his shoulder. He was out for a couple. That crash I had yesterday could have ended my career, like Jimmy said. But thank you, Mr. Mr. France. Thank you, Tony George. Melvin, Dr. Sickings, all those guys that went in and made this safer barrier a reality. And then while that was going on, simultaneously, NASCAR's working on a new car that Joey Logano can roll over 7 times and get out and say, boy, that was scary.
And you can see there also, it was safer for the fans. Like the hood stayed attached, the deck lid stayed attached, the wing stayed attached, all that stuff that we were all concerned about flying off into the stands and all that kind of stuff happening, nothing came off the car. Everything stayed attached to the car.
And we quickly want to say that it's always NASCAR, but it's the seatbelt companies, the fire suit companies, the helmets. It's everybody involved, the foam. So many companies have got
Carbon
behind this
fiber
thing.
seats,
everything. And, it's really great for everybody because when you see that accident and you see Joey walk away, good job for everybody.
I still race a Randy LaJoy seat because I've run into a lot of stuff and it ain't hurt me yet.
Randy was ahead of the game on them seats.
Yeah, he came along with a seat long before anybody else had one, and I think Randy does a great job for our sport.
Yep.
Jimmy, you and I were talking about the point standings after 2 races in the chase. Jimmy, your point, no pun intended, about the points is we're starting to see separation.
Yeah, we're starting to see, I think the top 5 or 6 guys here still, 106, 108, 110 there for Ryan. This 122 with Jeff, I think he's starting to say, wait a minute, because he's looking around 30 positions already. Then you start looking at Vickers, Carl Edwards, and Kane. Kane is already 1 full race out of this thing. So, within 2 races, we're already starting to see this separation become an issue.
We've seen Carl Edwards get on a roll, though. He's 153 down. I think he gets on one of these rolls like he's been on before. He can become a contender. Jeff Gordon as well. So I agree, Jimmy, those are huge amounts of points, but those cars have proven they can run right up front. And that's what you have to do.
Honestly, I mean, not to interrupt, but
No, go ahead.
Those guys aren't out of it.
No.
Not even close. And
but
when we won our first championship, we didn't even get a top 5 finish until the 5th race of the chase. So, I mean, they can come back from that if everything works.
But they're going to need some help.
They're going to need some help, and they're going to have to run pretty darn well.
And the only 2 I see down at the bottom that can get on a roll like that is Carl and Jeff. Yeah. I don't see those other guys. They haven't proven to me this year that they can do what Carl and Jeff has shown they can do.
What I've seen this year is every year this competition gets tougher and tougher and tougher, and there's less and less parts failures.
You're right.
So I think there's going to be. I don't think you're going to have a mulligan this year.
The cars are tougher. You can run into more stuff. And they'll keep going.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
racing.
Your brother brought that up.
And the 48 team would have to not show up this weekend in Kansas. Just kidding, Chad.
No, don't say that, man. It's going to be.
Why are you looking at me like that, Michael?
Sometimes I don't even know who you are, Steve.
I just don't know who you are anymore. Like Ron Capps is sitting there. Right after this, all the best radio conversations from Dover, including a debate of whether to pit or not with 32 laps remaining. Radioactive up next. Plus, we'll dive into the highlights where we're sure to see Logano's tumble again. Can anyone be blamed for that wreck? And later, we'll make some hot laps and find out if we need more night races in the Sprint Cup Series. We'll be right back.
This Week in NASCAR is presented by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Glad you're back with us here on This Week in NASCAR. Friday night in Dover, Jeff Gordon was on our trackside show, and we played him the Radioactive piece. And I said, you guys were kind of chippy. And he goes, yeah, that was just race 1 in the chase. Well, let's hear how the drivers were in race 2 at Dover in Radioactive.
Radio check 1 2 10-4, got you. Check 1 2. I got you there. You got me okay.
Momentum and the Monster, an interesting pairing. One of NASCAR's most demanding and difficult tracks, challenging drivers in chase race number 2 at a time when their championship hopes are still very high.
Looking to give you a good race here today and improve our chances. All right, boys, just like what we spoke about, it's all about desire. Got to have the want to get this thing done here this year. All right, boys, work hard to get here. Have some fun.
Green flag goes in the air. We're underway.
Rubber is building up. The car is moving all over the place. It's like when I slide, it slides out of control.
Copy that. Probably more like pebbles, you know?
Mike, I can't roll any speed to the center. I'm too loose.
I just don't get it. I'm on ice. Everybody else is out here on rails.
Oh, we got trouble getting into 3, guys.
Dawson's out.
Oh, he's upside down.
I don't know how to say sorry enough to Joey. I don't know what happened. I mean, he just had to check up, and I didn't see it coming, and I drove flat through him. Whew. Man, that was a handful right there. Yeah, I'm with you. I want what you have there? It's an animal every lap. What's happening is there's rubber buildup on the entry, and you get your right sides in them, and whoop, you slip all the way up. If I dodge the rubber, the car is it's neutral. Tempo. We're going to try to work on just that little bit at the beginning there.
Restart. Kurt Busch leader, Jimmy Johnson second. Jeff Gordon is there, so is Juan Pablo Montoya.
Watch this 42 coming up behind you here, bud, pretty quick.
I was with the 48 right on his ass, and I backed up, get it uneven like that. He killed me.
Most frustrating thing is where we always seem to dial ourselves out. Caution's out, caution's out. But right there when our tires cooled off, for the first 5-6 laps, you ran the same speed as we did on stickers. Thinking we stay out here. What about you?
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. Thinking about staying. If there's 3 in front of you come, we'll come.
I think you stay out, dude. Those guys didn't make up any ground.
Green flag goes in the air, and on the restart, Jimmy Johnson getting away by a couple of car lengths.
Oh, nice work, Johnson. Nice work.
Jimmy Johnson wins it at Dover.
That was all you today, bro. That's right, boys. Maximum points.
As soon as that 48 gassed it up to a burnout, something broke. Imagine that.
It's all there, everything you want to know. If you're up in those grandstands, you got to have a scanner. It's so fun listening. And listen to this, Estrada.
Estrada.
I like that. Tony Stewart, you know, he genuinely was sorry about what happened, but as we looked at it, you know, Bobby Labonte pulled down. That sort of started a chain reaction crash. You can't blame Tony for that. No. You can't see through the cars, and so it made Tony upset, but I'm glad he rebounded. He got over it. What great calls we heard, too. Everybody's on the same page at the end. We better stay out. We better stay out. And staying out was the key to winning the race.
Yeah. The big thing is what bothers me is that we're hearing drivers, and I guess I'm bringing Denny Hamlin up. You know, Denny Hamlin says, I don't understand Goodyear why we test. To make a long story short, he was bitching all weekend about the tires. But at the end of the day, Goodyear.
Can't say that.
He just did.
Complaining.
Huh?
It's all right.
Goodyear.
You're on a roll, Ghostman.
You're darn right I am. Goodyear has done a fantastic job this year. And Goodyear had 7 different winners heading into that race. We had 7 different winners at Dover. That's incredible. And the other thing about it is Goodyear had a tire. If you only fit the tire for one team, that's not fair. They try to balance between all 43.
And how refreshing was it to see all that rubber on the track? We all liked that. As soon as the track rubbered up, you thought, Estrada.
Okay.
You know, get back to the tire real quick. I just want to say something.
Great tire.
It was a very, very good tire. I thought when we went up there and we tested, there was a whole barrage of us. We had the 42, the 18 had a great test up there. The 9 was up there. I mean, there's a whole bunch of cars. 47. There's a whole bunch of them. And typically at Dover, you have anywhere we go to, you go into the corner with this car. Once the car lands, gets into max lateral G, vertical G, it just pushes. Once it gets on the bump stops, it pushes up the racetrack. You put that tire on the car, and the car turned. And we were overextended, trying to make that car turn in the spring race. We put that tire on there, we could actually back up from some of that stuff. So we really thought, and Skinner, who was on that tire, man, that's going to be great. Everybody's going to love it. And
I agree.
They didn't. I don't know why.
The car would turn when you landed, which was refreshing. Go ahead, Steve.
Let's go to the highlights.
I think highlights.
Estrada.
All right. Rain in the morning. Started the race on a green racetrack.
You got to endorse what you believe in.
And what we're talking about, look at that, Stans. The track is, you know, they call it the white, you know, the whiteness of it. And when 20 laps, this first caution, you're going to see the rubber take to that racetrack. Just absolutely incredible. That's when rubber takes the track, it makes for a lot better race.
Yeah, and you know what it does, Jimmy? It gives drivers confidence. You run down the corner, if it's white all across through there, you're like, oh, I wonder if I can stick there. But when you see all that rubber, you know there's places for you to race.
But we already saw in that piece 2 tires. We started seeing 2 tire changes and trying to get guys in track position. Didn't qualify as well, and we started already seeing strategy to get to the front of the field.
And the reason they took 2 tires at that point is we'd only gone 25 laps before the competition caution, so you didn't need a full fuel load. So they were just making the most of their time in the pits to try to maintain that track position.
Let's take another look at the Joey Logano incident early in this race. I'm curious, Michael, Jimmy, you guys as race car drivers, was anybody at fault in this?
No, that was a racing deal. Bobby Labonte, spotter said he was clear. Bobby starts to move down. Joey lifts a little bit to let him in. Tony's coming full bore. He doesn't know. And to me, it was just pure racing at Dover. Unfortunately, Joey got the bad end of that, but fortunately, no one got hurt.
Chad, agree or disagree?
Well, here's the deal. I'm not saying it was Bobby Labonte's fault. I'm not saying he did it on purpose. I'm not saying that the spotter didn't say he was clear. I'm not saying any of that stuff, but I'm saying the whole reason that happens is because the 96 came down. If the 96 had stayed up in his lane, they wouldn't have had that problem. Now, if the spotter said that he was clear, then he was doing what he was told. So, however that rays out. But I mean, if you were going to pinpoint it right there, I'd say it was the 96.
And well, like Chad said, watch. There is room for Bobby to be up high. Bobby went to the bottom on purpose. He had a lane out there on his own. So Bobby's move did result in a crash. But darn, it's hard to blame a guy for just taking a lane that was there. It just was circumstantial, Steve, I think, that led to this terrible crash. And as Joey said, it really scared him.
I bet it did.
He said he'd been on some roller coasters, and none of them were that much craziness going on.
You could tell it in his voice, but he's a young kid, and he'll recoup from it. And the Home Depot got a lot of coverage, baby. It was on every news channel this morning.
We were sitting on the red flag on the backstretch, and my spotter said, Ty Norris, he said, as I've heard before, that'll make Sports Center. And I think it did.
Yes, it did. All right, here's your chance to enter the Picture of the Week giveaway. You can get your picture of Jimmy Johnson and team. Go to speedtv.com. Click the Shows tab at the top. Go to the This Week in NASCAR page. You'll see a link. Put JJ in the subject line, and you're entered to win. Be sure to put your shipping address in the email. The winner will be announced next week. The Mark Martin picture goes to A. Rogers in North Carolina. Coming up next, just when you think you've got the wreck missed, someone comes out of nowhere to put you right in the middle of it. More highlights upcoming. Later, we'll preview Kansas and look back to this unforgettable bonsai move by Carl Edwards on the last lap. Twin will be right back. Glad you're back with us. This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Geico. As Michael Waltrip likes to say, let's get into the highlights. Let's get stretched out and get into the highlights. Up front, Kurt Busch passes Ryan Newman for the lead on lap 57.
Look how wide that groove is, Steve. That's what me and the boys were talking about.
Both guys had 2 tires only at that time, and Kurt made the 2 tires work right there.
Once again, thanks to everybody at Dover for working on pit road. It's still extremely, extremely tight, as you can see, especially with all the cars that we have on the lead lap, but it is still so much better than what we've had in the past.
Yeah, people are just aggressive, Steve. They're trying to get every inch they can get, and they did make that pit road a lot safer.
Yeah.
Jimmy Johnson goes back to the point, passing Kurt Busch.
They caught Bobby Labonte to lap him, and Kurt went one way, and Bobby went the same, and that gave Jimmy a door to get through.
We were running behind him for a little bit and couldn't get by him.
Now, once you got through this door, that was about it, wasn't it?
Led three times for 271 laps, but
including the last 220-something.
Yeah.
But what I was curious about, Friday night, you and Larry Mack were talking backstage when you did NASCAR Performance, and you told Larry, you said, I think I brought the right race car. But you talk about that decision.
It was tough. The car that we ran in the spring was obviously very good. We won that race and ran very well. And we brought a different car. We felt like this car was good. I don't know. Did I tell you it was fib? Did I tell you a difference? I just think it was a better car.
That's what we wanted to know.
It's a newer car. It's a newer car,
yeah,
right?
I didn't know if I said something special.
Newer is better.
I was like, I don't know. Did I say something else? But no, it was a new car. We ran this car at Michigan, Chicago, both Michigans and Chicago. So I figured if we didn't run out of gas, we would be okay.
I got to mention this now. Coming home and walking through the garage area, do you think it's fair that NASCAR and Goodyear let you test, and let's say the Roush teams didn't?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they do a good job of spreading it out. How about this? How many teams tested Indianapolis multiple times, and we didn't go and test? So, but they do what they can to try to get it right for everybody. It's a difficult situation. The Goodyear and NASCAR are both in to try to make that happen.
Are you still doing Estrada?
What is he doing?
All right, rough day for Kyle Busch. He's going to blow a tire, and he hits the wall, brings out another caution.
This was interesting.
This guy needs a crew chief. I'm going to tell you, Kyle Busch needs a crew chief change.
Wow, what's wrong with Steve? They win all the races. They won a lot of races.
It's not working.
It isn't?
It's not working. That's just, I'm going to end it right there.
I think he needs an intervention.
Slow it down, be smooth.
Kyle Busch needs an intervention?
I think that, and I said this a few weeks ago, I think that whole team, they need to sit down and talk.
Didn't they do that a couple weeks ago?
They did.
And they ran good for a while. But it just seems like 18 is not gelling as well as it should. last year we saw him fail miserably in the chase, and then this year didn't even make the chase.
Well, Joey didn't get a chance to show it yesterday, but Denny was off as well. So sometimes you see that as an organization, you just don't have your stuff together at a certain track.
For what it's worth, the 18 was fast at the tire test. So I don't know what happened there. That was odd. They were really fast at the tire test.
Do you like how these highlights have gone to the ADD side?
I do. We
Existential.
We sometimes digress.
We're just having a conversation. Debris caution on lap 324. That brings the leaders down pit road for the final time. Jeff Gordon comes in second, but problem with an air gun.
Were you confident that this possibly would be your last stop?
I was hoping.
This is the Geico greatest pit crew, and it's going to go to Chad's team.
Yeah, you guys did a good job. They maintained right there. You know, we were fortunate that the 24 car was having great pit stops, and they actually had a button fall off of Tim Ladiga's gun there. And what a weird thing. We haven't quite got that figured out yet, what happened, so we're working on that.
But that's one of those things when you're in the championship, a little thing like that, weird, insignificant, cost you positions,
50
cost
cent
you
part,
points.
man. 50 cent part.
Interesting, though, you know, that to talk about the tire, 325, 75 to go, and these guys thought they were done pitting. And there were some cautions to come, and you had to sit there and sweat. I know through them, but another great call for the tire that Goodyear brought.
But no, I think if it had went 50 laps straight and then had a caution, you'd have had a lot more people pit. But since we had a caution at 23 laps into it and another caution 20-something laps into it, I think that broke it up enough.
Take a look at Regan Smith. Boy, he had a lot of races without a DNF now, 2 in a row. He gets loose coming out of turn 4. Elliott Sadler and a former Dover winner, Martin Truex Jr., get caught up.
Well, and Dover is one of the worst tracks for narrowness off the corners. And there it's just a matter of not a lot of room. And, you know, they all slowing down there. But that guy there just caught into him, and it was a situation where you run out of racing room.
Let's move ahead now. 32 laps to go. Sam Hornish spins, brings out the yellow. Now to pit or not to pit. That's the question. And we give the Castrol edge smart move of the race for our guy Chad Canals for keeping his driver on the racetrack.
Sometimes the smartest thing to do is nothing.
If you don't know what to do, don't do anything.
I like that, Michael.
Thank you. I'm profound.
He's a thinker of deep thoughts. 27 to go. The 48 jumps out ahead with Kenseth Montoya and Martin battling for second.
Yeah, and the big thing here, Phoenix, is that old man right there with another second-place finish. So, you know, Mark Martin, 4 times the bridesmaid, he's going to be a factor the rest of this year in this chase. I know there's 8 races left, a lot of racing left, but I'll tell you what, Chad, you got to admit, Mark is going to be a player all day, all year.
Absolutely.
The rest of the year.
They're strong, man. That 5 car's strong.
Chad, I read your post-race comments in the transcript, and you're quick to point out this is a team sport, but yesterday you really gave Jimmy Johnson a lot of the credit. The quote was he manned up. Yeah. What was it about his performance that you thought was so good or so above average? You
know, he showed up on Friday, and you know, drivers won't always admit to this. You know, they always think they're on their A game every time they show up, and they're not. You know, I mean, some days are just better than others for every person, every individual. When he showed up on Friday, he just had that look. He had that presence. You know,
focus.
His chest was puffed out a little bit. He was feeling confident, and from the moment he buckled into the car, I was like, ooh. He's going to be ready to go, you know. And Jimmy's known to be a real smooth driver, real calm with the inputs, and you know, real tender with the brake pedal and things like that. Well, Dover, you can't drive like that. You've got to get on top of this car. You got to chew on the steering wheel, and you have to get after it. And that's what Jimmy did the whole race, 400 laps.
All right, when we come back, tempers flared after the nationwide race at Dover. We'll tell you why after this. And NASCAR adjusted the testing schedule for 2010. We'll see what the panel thinks in hot laps, which is still to come. Stick around this week in NASCAR. We'll be right back here on Speed.
The smart move of the race has been presented by Castrol Edge. Think with your dipstick. Upgrade to new Castrol Edge Advanced Synthetic. Nothing offers better wear and protection. The Greatest Pit Crew has been presented by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Check out NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot from the Kansas Speedway. John Roberts, Jimmy Spencer, Kenny Wallace, Wendy Venturini, Handsome Hermie Sadler. It all starts Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern here on Speed. NASCAR Camping World Truck Series competitors were in Sin City at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Johnny Sauter picked up his first career win.
Remember, Johnny Sauter got 2 tires on this last caution flag. Matt Crafton elected to stay on the racetrack. Johnny's chased him down, moves to the outside.
Around the outside he goes. He takes the lead back. Sauter back in front here going down the Nellis straightaway. Johnny Sauter will win at Las Vegas.
And Johnny Sauter has not had the opportunity to do this in a while. Climb out a vehicle and celebrate a win.
I can't believe we won this race. Unbelievable. Chevrolet was awesome. Wow. You know, we did have some tough luck there at the beginning of the year, but these guys rallied hard, and unbelievable. I don't even know what to say. This is awesome.
You know, sometimes you just know. And when they threw the green flag for the first practice at Las Vegas, that truck was fast. I mean, he was fast all weekend. Phil Parsons and Rick Allen calling the shots for up there for speed. They called me and said, Johnny Sauter's the man. Watch him tonight. And they were right. He drove straight to the front. Good to see him get his first win. And the first 1-2 finish for Thor Sports. Good accomplishment for that team.
NASCAR Nationwide Series teams in action on Saturday at the Monster Mile in Dover. Got to mention this. Kyle Busch led 109 laps. He's now led 26 of 28 Nationwide Series races. Is just the second driver to lead over 2,000 laps in a season, tying Sam Ard. But at the end of the day, the guy who led the final lap was Clint Boyer.
This is the best battle that Kyle's been faced with all day long, and here goes the lead. Could it change hands on the track for the first time today?
See Boyer drive that car down in the corner, sparks flying.
Clear.
All clear.
Trouble in turn number 2. Brad Keselowski gets into the back of Denny Hamlin. Hamlin breaks loose, spins to the inside, and collects the inside retaining wall here on the back straightaway.
We see right there, Brad had a run on the inside, but it's definitely Keselowski's fault. I mean, he just ran over the back of him.
Yeah.
Had to know that he was coming back down.
And it looks like the number 29 is going to give Richard Childress a belated birthday present. He was 64 on Monday, and happy birthday, Richard. Your man just won for you. After the race, was right down on pit road.
And the pushing and shoving that you were talking about, Denny Hamlin came up and confronted Brad Keselowski. They talked about it.
You can see Denny right there at the top right of your screen. He came out and wanted to have a discussion. Here's the celebration.
That's pretty cool, man. I love the confrontation after the race, some heated arguments. But Keselowski, I'm going to tell you something, bud. You're going to get your ass whipped one day by telling people that you're sorry after the fact. You knocked the guy out at Bristol for no reason. Hey, I'm sorry. You knocked another guy out somewhere else. Hey, I'm sorry.
He didn't say he was sorry for that. He said it wasn't his fault.
Hell, it wasn't. It was his fault. I mean, give me a break. You got to respect the guy in front of you. Think back to Juan Pablo Montoya and Mark Martin last week. Total respect. You just show respect for Denny Hamlin. Me, I disagree. I think you caused a wreck there, and I think if I was NASCAR, I would have been a guy that said, "Listen, I'm going to penalize you 5 spots for being stupid driving."
I think back to Jimmy Spencer and Dale Jarrett at the Hickory Motor Speedway in about 1987.
1989. I won.
Yes, you did. And you about caused a riot in Hickory, North Carolina.
I got the trophy.
You got the trophy. When we come back, we'll start our preview of Kansas. We'll see how the Chasers stack up in the Land of Oz. Plus, the 48 is coming off a win at Dover. And guess who won Kansas last year? We'll ask Chad what it'll take to win again on Sunday. Stick around. You're watching This Week in NASCAR.
Here at Kansas Speedway, it is stop number 3 in the 2008 chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup.
It is the least amount of banking of all the mile and a half.
You really need to have the kind of car that works when you go off them turns at 180 miles an hour.
A lot of great side-by-side, 3 and sometimes 4-wide racing.
These guys are going to pass everywhere that they get an opportunity.
The Sprint Cup Series has been racing at the Mile and a Half Kansas Speedway once a year since 2001. Jeff Gordon won in 2001 and again in 2002, the only driver to have won more than one race there. The winner last year was Jimmy Johnson, but what everybody remembers is the wild move that Carl Edwards made trying to win the race.
NASCAR's heavyweight set to get it on. Packed house, lots of Midwestern NASCAR fans here in the heartland at Kansas Speedway. But here they come to the green flag.
So loose, I can't drive it. It's going to be kind of crummy to get going here, buddy. I know it. Hang with us. I know you will.
So snug through the center, rolling the bottom.
The car won't build corner speed and won't build straightaway speed. coming is the 99. Hasn't been anywhere to the same to maybe a 10 faster than us.
You got that 24 behind you. You know he's going to run you hard here to help his teammate. Don't fight around the center. That's it right now. It's real good off. 15 to his 57. Awesome lap. Let's go get it.
I'm going to tell you something. You got to give this guy credit. He's driving this car hard. He might have found something when he got forked to that high side there.
I'm at a very high extreme top, buddy. Watch him.
Here he comes, digging up off the corner. Turn 2, half a lap away.
Keep doing it, bud. Come on, you can do this now.
Oh, drove right by him. And his car stink. Here comes Jimmy Johnson. He's in the wall. Carl Edwards trying to hang on. Here comes Jimmy Johnson down, and Johnson will take the car. Woo! How good is that?
Go ahead.
One for the damn highlight reel there, brother.
Kansas is just a great racetrack. You know, we were just sitting here talking about it's a sister track to Chicago, and they're both just fantastic tracks. You know, they get that Midwestern weathering to them, and the groove really opens up. The track's starting to get some bumps, getting a little bit of its own characteristics. So it's a really cool place to go, and I love going there to race. It's a lot of fun, and you know, we were just talking about that last lap. It's neat because when you're on pit road, you can actually see the whole racetrack. So it's a good thing for the teams and the crew chiefs to be able to watch your car. And on the last lap, when Jimmy was going down into turn 3, and I watched, I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, he sure looks like he's backing off early. But it really wasn't the case. It was just Carl was driving in so much deeper than what Jimmy did to try to make that pass. It was awesome. But the one thing, like we were just talking about as well, is it was really good that Carl tried to clear Jimmy, because he very easily could have drove in there next to him, ran him up the track, put us into the wall, and then race us to the start-finish line. Instead, he made sure that he went in deep enough to clear us, and then fortunately the wall kept him inside the ballpark.
You know, the other thing about Kansas that I enjoy most is, yes, it's a new venue, but the fans.
Yeah, the whole area.
The way it's grown, Michael, with the restaurants and the motels and the infrastructure and the fans, and they just keep supporting us there. God, you just can't say enough about that. The race is awesome.
Look at all the race, all the grooves you see guys running low, high, a lot of fun. One thing about the way Carl got into turn 3, Steve, on that last lap, if I ever drove in that far to pass Jimmy, I would get around him, but I'd be going backwards when I went by, because that was an amazing move that he didn't. How do you drive in that deep and not spin out?
It looked like a video game.
It did.
Hey, Chad, I think some people unfairly say that all the mile and a halves are the same.
Yeah. We don't buy into that, do we, Chad?
No.
What about Kansas separates it from the other mile and a halves?
Well, I mean, if you compare it to, let's say, Texas or Las Vegas, where the banking at those two tracks is extremely steep and very, very high speeds, Kansas is a little bit flatter, and the groove really widens out quickly. I mean, when you get there, within 25 laps, you're going to have people running in the bottom, the top, all around that racetrack, to a normal racetrack or another mile and a half track. Everybody runs around the bottom because that's the fast groove, and if you get up high, it's difficult to keep that up. So it's a really great racetrack, and the tire that we've got there is a little bit different. It wears at almost just the right rate to where it falls off throughout the whole fuel run, and it makes for really good pit stops and good racing.
There's some barbecued ribs right there next to the Great Wolf Lodge. That's pretty good.
You're going to go down the big water slide at Great Wolf Lodge.
I love me some water sliding.
A lot of coverage for you this weekend here on Speed. NASCAR Live kicks things off at noon on Friday. Then we have Cup practice. Trackside at 7. I know Mark Martin is with us, so make sure you're with us for that. Got a lot for you on Saturday as well. Up next is NASCAR's Saturday night racing, ruining local short tracks. We'll dive into that topic next. And does the new car need any tweaks? The panel will answer those questions next in Hot Laps. This week in NASCAR will be right back.
Awesome.
This week in NASCAR is brought to you by Geico.
15 minutes will save you 15%.
Somebody's watching you. Let's take a look at our chasers and how they have fared at Kansas. 6 of them have won on the mile and a half.
I don't like statistics like this, simply from the standpoint we see a guy like Juan Pablo, the first 2 chase races, not even in the top 10 at Dover, come out of there with a 3rd or 4th place finish. So.
What about Mark Martin? Been to Loudon 20-some times.
25.
And never won. Yeah. Walks out of there with a victory. These guys are good. Everybody on that page is good. Every one of them have a chance to win.
Mm-hmm. Chad looks like he's watching a tennis match.
Yeah.
I mean, this is busy, man.
It is.
There's a lot going on.
You know, Spencer's not jaded.
No, he's not. He's not cynical.
He's just on it.
It's time now for Hot Laps. That's what it says. Hot Laps.
You guys are on drugs, ain't you?
All right.
Hey.
Now, Jimmy Spencer, here it is, buddy. Does NASCAR need more or less night racing?
I think that night racing at Atlanta was absolutely phenomenal. It was a great success for Atlanta. And I think that making all night races, no. I don't think we need more night races just to add and to make them night, no.
Did I ask you about Atlanta? Chad, more or less night racing?
I'm fine. I think we've got a good mixture right now. I would like to see some midweek racing. I think we need to look into Wednesdays, maybe Thursdays. Take the weekends off. I think we're competing against the NFL, college football, and I think we need to throw some stuff in midweek.
Damn, that's a good point.
I like what he said. I like what Jimmy said. There's a balance that needs to be achieved. I'm refreshed about a nice Sunday afternoon race in Kansas this weekend, and then I love when we race in Atlanta at night. So I like a balance. I do like a midweek show.
I like Chad's idea.
That's good.
But nobody cares about my opinion.
No,
okay, Michael, does this race car need tweaking? Do we need to adjust this race car?
Anytime you work, you're going to cost teams money. Anytime you change a rule, it means money. And right now, money's tight, and people are just trying to figure out how to survive. So I think we leave it alone. The racing's pretty entertaining. I thought we saw one of the greatest races we've ever seen in the chase at Loudon a couple of weeks ago. I don't think there needs to be any adjustments made to the car right now. I wish it hadn't came out with such a low splitter. I would have changed that, but it's too late.
Yeah.
Chad Knaus.
I think we could make some small improvements to the car. I think that if they gave us a wicker that was a little bit taller, something that we could adjust on the end, maybe some different end plates that we can run, or the adjustable splitter like you're talking about, which would be not financially taxing too much on the teams, because that's stuff that's readily replaced and things that can be developed individually. I think that's stuff that could help the teams tune the cars.
I think NASCAR has to make changes to this car. And the reason why I say that, I listened to Casey Kane at Atlanta. The car, 1/8 of an inch change in the Panhard bar, goes from running in the top 3 to 15th. I think they need to have more adjustability and more leeway for the drivers to have more flexibility and adjustments. And it wouldn't cost them a lot of money. There's things that I would take 5 or 6 drivers, whether it be Chad Knaus and the 24 car and the 11 and the 18, and take them to the racetrack and let them test and evaluate what they come up with. That's what I think I would do if I was NASCAR.
Jimmy, NASCAR, just speaking of tweaking, adjusted the testing policy a little bit. Should NASCAR continue with the testing ban?
No, I think NASCAR needs to open up the testing simply from the standpoint that they open it up and say, listen, we're going to allow, hey, if you don't want to test, you don't have to.
Yes, I do. If everybody else does.
Then you do. But my point is that you don't let it open up. You say, we're going to have 5 or 6 tests somewhere next year, maybe a Daytona or whatever, and for 3 or 4 days, and everybody can come and test. And only do it 5 or 6 times so you have a balance.
I agree. I think that it hurts the smaller teams right now not being able to get on track. It hurts the new drivers not being able to get on track and try things. There's sensations that you feel with these cars as you make adjustments to them that you have to get acclimated to. And as a crew chief, as you're making these changes to the car, if you don't get track time with your driver, or have a very, very good relationship with your driver, you can't develop that understanding. So I think there needs to be a handful of tests a year, even if they are restricted. I think it'll help.
I disagree. It's too expensive. The racing is good on the track. The teams can't afford to spend the money that it costs to go test. If you need to go test and get your driver some feel, you can go to some of the regional tracks, some of the tracks that aren't on the testing ban. So I disagree.
But you can't go to a 1.5 mile track and test any of that stuff, and that's where you really have the most difficulty. That's where the bulk of our races are.
I also don't think you care about the little teams. I think you're thinking, ooh, if I go test, I'd be really good.
Yeah, but just think about Robbie Gordon right now. He'd love to be able to go somewhere and try to tune it.
Hang on, let's think about Childress. Childress has all cars in the chase last year, none this year. Let's think about Roush. Roush, only 2 wins all year long. No, I disagree. I think it would be good for the sport in general.
Or you guys can fight during the commercial. When Twin returns, we'll open the inbox. If a crew chief leaves the team, what happens to his notes, Chad? Does he own them, or the team will get the answer?
Oh.
We're going to take a look at some of the trends from 8 years of racing at Kansas Speedway. Chad Knaus hates this because we're actually helping the other crew chiefs in the garage. So, Chad, have at it.
It's a little different at this track. You see the first caution at lap 25 is the average. Now, that's going to change this year, I have a feeling. Unless there's a lot of rain and they have a competition caution, I think that's going to be extended a little bit. Number of cautions, once again, that's 9.8. I think that's a little high. I think that's going to be a little bit less. But now, one thing that I do see that I am banking on pretty heavily is that long green flag run. 79 laps, that's the longest run on average that we've had there. I think that's going to continue. I really think that you're going to see those long green flag runs there. I think fuel mileage is going to come into play just because this car does not draw as many cautions, and the fuel mileage is going to be, the track winds up, and you're going to need to use that fuel mileage.
See, everybody has that information, but you can use it and judge it however you like.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't be so mad. You shouldn't be so jaded.
Spence, watch this. Spence, watch this. Hey, Spence, watch this. Chad, what will the temperature be when the green flag drops?
It'll probably be anywhere from 72 to 76 degrees.
Humidity.
You know, the thing is, I really don't give a darn. I'll be there and I'll see
Chad
a great
does.
race.
Time now for the ZMAX Fuel for Thought email segment. Michael Waltrip will handle the first question. Spence, you all right?
Yeah.
Okay. After Logano's accident, does NASCAR or the team inspect the roll cage for any design flaws or problems? Michael?
The reason why the cars are so safe now, Steve, is the way that NASCAR and the teams work together. That car will either go to the R&D center so NASCAR can study it, or NASCAR will pay a visit to Joe Gibbs Racing and make sure that everything held up like they hoped it would. Anytime you have a crash like this, you're liable to learn something that will make the cars even safer the next time one turns over.
And you know, another thing quickly, there's an accident. The NASCAR's already taken pictures, Michael. You know, like you guys are out there racing, and I walk around, and if there's a bad accident, NASCAR's got officials already scoping it out. So NASCAR does a great job, fans.
Second question, when a crew chief changes team's organization, who owns his notes? Can he take them with him to his new team, like Pat Tryson going to Michael Waltrip Racing, for example?
What'd you say? Can you bring those over there?
You know, typically when you get into a higher up position at a race team, you sign a contract, and basically what that says is that any information or anything that you design or develop while working for that race team is the property of that race team. So typically you can't take that, but you can't unlearn. So if you're working somewhere and you've learned something, you've learned a spring and bar combination that works at a racetrack, you know, it's not like you can take a little portion of your brain and set it out and not take it with you. You know, so you're going to take some of that knowledge with you, just like what Pat Tryson's going to do when he goes to work for you guys.
That's like Pat asked me, he said, "You like your cars?" I love my cars. He said, "What about smaller gauges?" I said, "I don't care. I can't see them ones in there now."
And you don't pay attention to them if you could see
whatever
them.
you want. I don't care.
Smaller gauges are good. Jimmy Spencer's going to handle this final question. Jimmy, in the garage, what are the scales the cars are placed on in the garage? What are they used for?
Weighing.
They weigh the drivers. Now, what they do, fans, if the crew chiefs decide to make a spring change, they want to move the nose weight, that's what they're doing. They're checking and double checking to make sure that the changes they made, they're back to where they were. So it's a good tool that the crews use.
And Chad will always tell you what the cross weight is. Just walk up and ask him. This week in NASCAR, next Monday night at 8 o'clock, same exact crew will be with you here. We think, right, Spence?
I hope I'm here.
This Week in NASCAR is presented by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Here's a reminder on the picture of the week, Jimmy Johnson in victory lane with Miles the Monster and his beautiful wife. Go to speedtv.com, click on the show's tab at the top, go to the This Week in NASCAR page, and you'll see a link, excuse me, at the bottom to email us. Put JJ in the subject line and you're entered to win. Put your shipping address in the email and we will announce the winner next week. Up next on Supercars Exposed, host Tanner Faust gives the students of Lanier Tech an education in drifting in the Panos AIV Roadster. The AIV stands for Aluminum Intensive Vehicle, and it's 70% aluminum. The car weighs 2,500 pounds and has an engine that produces 305 horsepower. Supercars Exposed next at 9 Eastern. Tanner Faust has nothing on Michael Waltrip, who drove that Ferrari.
Yeah, I went to Ferrari and had some fun. Went to Italy and had some fun in my Ferrari. A couple of special September birthdays, including my lovely Angel Macy, who turns 12 tomorrow. So I wanted to say happy birthday to her.
Spence, what do you got going on?
Well, I'm excited about Kansas. You know, I love going out there. It's a great place to visit. And Michael and we're going to be racing Saturday night at somewhere.
We're going to Lincoln, Nebraska, and racing dirt cars with Bobby Labonte and Casey Mears and me and you.
I can spin you out, can't I?
You can.
That'd be fun. I can spin Michael out.
Hey, you're going to test at the little track at Rockingham.
Yeah, I can't wait. Going tomorrow to test at Little Rock, run some laps over there, get ready to go to Martinsville. And
I like that, bro.
And there'll be a wooden hammer there.
It's going to be a fun time.
I know I won't be back next week, fans. I'm sorry.
And I'm glad Chad handled the Jimmy deal back here.
With a picture?
Yeah.
Good. Hey, we'll see you Friday at noon from Kansas.